Okay, people. So, just got round to watching season 3 of The Mandalorian. Right? This is obviously the film that is showrun by Jon Favreau. Right? He created the series and puts it together with Dave Filoni, however you say the name. Gosh, I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure. All right, so season 3, we have episodes directed by Rick Famuyiwa, Bryce Dallas Howard, Carl Weathers, Lee Isaac Hong, Rachel Morrison, and Peter Ramsey. Yes. Yeah, I think that's it. Then we have stuff written by Jon Favreau, right? Dave Filoni and Noah Kloor. Okay. So things are produced by. Let's try and work this out. Do 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 do. John Bartnicki, right? Yeah. Executive produced by Rick Famuyiwa. John Hampian. I feel that's how you say it. Clint Spillers. Colin Wilson, Kathleen Kennedy, right, and Karen Gilchrist. Right. The music this season was handled by Joseph Shirley. I think that Ludwig was tied up with something. I think that's what happened. Cinematography, we have got Dean Cundy did 3 episodes, Paul Hogan did 2, and Dave Klein did the rest. On editing duties, we have Jeff Cybernick and Rachel Goldlet-Katz, Dylan Frischine, along with Eric Jensen. Casting is Sarah Finn. Production design, Andrew L. Jones and Doug Chung. Okie dokie. Right. So, in this one, we have got obviously Pedro Pascal as Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, right? With Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder as the cats in the suit when Pascal isn't wearing it. Right? We've got Katee Sackhoff as Bo-Katan Kryze. The Armorer is played by Emily Swallow. Carl Withers is Grief Cargal. Ella Kane is Katie M. O'Brien. Kasson Tiva is Paul Sun-Hyung Lee. Axe Wolves is Koska Reeves is played by Mercedes Vanadu. Tait Fletcher is Paz Vizsla. Moff Gideon is Giancarlo Esposito. Pelimoto is played by Amy Sedaris. Peng Peshing is Omid Abia. Killer in back is Ahmed Best. Colonel Tuttle is Tim Meadows. Captain Bombardier is Jack Black. Lizzo was the Duchess of Plaza. And Christopher Lloyd is Commissioner Hulgat. Okay, so the gist of season 3 is basically Djarin travels to Mandalore to redeem his past transgressions, right? Essentially taking off his helmet in the last season, right? So he goes with Grogu, his apprentice, foundling, and they're being aided on this journey by Bo-Katan Kryze. Right, that's basically what's going on. And you know, a lot of people I knew who'd seen this were like, it's not as good as previous seasons. I will probably say yes, but I kind of feel that's more because there are all these other things going on, right? So it doesn't necessarily feel like it is about the Mandalorian, right? It feels like he's a bit player in the whole thing. You kind of feel that this season, like, it's more of tales of the Mandalorian, right? Tales from Mandalore or something like that. If it had been an offshoot series with that title, so it's a series that has the Mandalorian in it, but not necessarily the main focus, I think the reception probably would have been different, you know? Because there's some interesting stuff going on. But yeah, it's more around Bo-Katan, Mandalore, that whole, like the Mandalorian lore. This is what this is more about rather than Din Djarin, you know? So yeah, there is that. Now, because we have so many Mandalorians up in the piece, right? And there's all this other stuff going on. The special effects, I mean, it definitely, you're like, I don't feel they're flying, right? Or when you see the ships, you're just a bit like, I mean, that doesn't look like that ship is in that scene, you know? So there is a little bit with the special effects, you know? And maybe other people find that more jarring because, you know what I mean? For me to be able to see that shit, it's got to be pretty obvious. You know what I mean? So if I see it, other people are like, yo. You know what I mean? But like story wise, it's not bad. Like I thought it was decent. It was interesting, like the stuff around Mandalore. And it did make me wonder, like, how much of that is new, right? How much of that is from books and comics? You know, that is the whole thing with that. Like, how much is new stuff created for the series and the Bible, right? Rather than, oh, yeah, this is. Die-hard fans know this shit. This was talked about in, you know, whatever cartoon series and whatever comic book, or you know, that I do wonder that sometimes watching it. But yeah, it's like the Lizzo and Jack, because I know there was a lot of issues with Jack Black and Lizzo. Now I thought they were fine, right? They weren't terrible. So when I got to that episode, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot they were in it. And Christopher Lloyd, and you feel, ooh, so the way everyone talks, they're gonna stink it up. No, they didn't stink it up. It was all fine. I think the main issue was it didn't really add anything, and then also there were certain things going on right? Like just the actions of one character. And it was just always like, I'm going to slap you on the wrist. And it was just like, yo, shouldn't that person be like killed? You know what I mean? Like, that's a crazy transgression that motherfucker did. Yeah, so there was just things like that that seemed weird and out of place for the universe. This isn't a let's hug it out kind of universe. This is just like, yo, we ain't ramping, motherfucker. It's you or me. You know what I mean? That's what you've kind of been sold as. So that it just seemed all over the place, you know? We have Grogu walking around more, which, yeah, Grogu walking around, it looks either like a mad old person, you know what I mean? Like someone that's riddled with arthritis, or it's someone with like they've messed themselves and they're walking, trying for it not to be running down their legs. That's how motherfucker walks. It's super weird. Right? It's super weird. And then when he's flying, like doing the jumping, and it just, yeah, you're a bit like, it kind of pulls me out of things a little bit. That, and there was more little characters and things like that, like puppet characters. When I say little, I'm not talking, you know what I mean, small people. I'm talking like characters, puppets, which oftentimes you see it and you're just like, was that created to have a toy, right? Because a lot of times because they've got all these squeaky little voices and it's always and all weird and jumping around and being quirky and you're just like, what? Why? What are we doing here? What the fuck is this? You know what I mean? The other thing with this season, Din Djarin, like before this point, was a bit of a badass. In this season, he's like Morpheus from Matrix 2 and 3, where now he's getting his ass handed to him by mad peoples. And you're just like, what's happening here? Right? Now, sell it like homie's got an injury or something, but it was just, he was getting beat up. He's getting beat up left, right, and center. And I'm just like, yo, I thought you were a bad motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, what's happening? So there was that was kind of odd, right? That was kind of odd. It was, yeah, there was something that happened at the end with an artifact, let's say, which I felt didn't make any sense, right? Because it was just a bit like, well, you wanted that thing supposedly, so why would you do that? Because it wouldn't be a case of, oh, you're doing it so they don't, because you're looking to kill everyone. So technically no one's gonna be alive, so you could have the artifact. So that was all a bit odd. You know, but I feel this season did set things up to be super interesting going forward. Definitely has left it in a place where you're like, I wonder where they're gonna go from here. I'm also wondering if they're gonna grow Goju, right? Will he get bigger? And will he actually talk? Because the noises, they're irritating. We also see some other stuff going down, which could, I think that might be the thing that's leading into this potential, well, not even potential, we know it's happening, but this film that's in the Mandalorian space, right? I feel that could be. And I think it was interesting because it's just like, yeah, with everything that's happening, are we saying that the Empire, New Republic, whatever the fuck it is now, that they've completely gone, right? So it was interesting to see this other stuff. So I will say, season 3, it was decent. You know what I mean? It was definitely decent. saw some interesting stuff, but yeah, it wasn't as solid and polished as some of the other, seasons. And we also kind of, there's a bit like with the Mandalorians when they're trying to take down this beast and everything. And you're just like, why are they struggling? Right? They're meant to be these bad motherfuckers. So it was a bit weird. Yeah, that was a bit weird. And it would have been good to, because we seem to get some different takes on the backpacks. Right? There's earlier on, they're like, oh, they can only do this. And then towards the end, dude does a thing, right? Goes real far with the backpack. And you're just like, yo, what's the deal with the fucking backpacks? So, yeah, there was definitely it felt like some holes. But yeah, as a whole, it wasn't terrible. Definitely wasn't terrible. It was decent. And it's put things in a place where shit should get super, super interesting. So yeah, people, finally watch season 3. That's my take. They're my thoughts. Let's see what the fuck's gonna happen from here, yo. So The Mandalorian season 3.